For the first time, our teams have filmed 2 families of pandas in their natural environment, in large reserves situated in Sichuan and Shanxi in southwestern China. They filmed for over 5 years, throughout each season and at different times in their lives. While pandas symbolize both an endangered species and a successful reintroduction into the wild, they remain very mysterious. A star of zoos, we know almost nothing about its wildlife. Even though they are children's favorite and beloved cuddly toy, the panda is nevertheless sensitive and can be very aggressive. Though strong and debonair, they are nonetheless fragile, dependent on a single source of food, bamboo. A panda's life is like a quiet brook. They spend most of their time lazing around, doing very little, which is the secret of their survival and longevity in the animal kingdom. They are never spectacular, but they seduce us with their tenderness and finesse. Their reproduction is a lottery and its existence a miracle. They do not have the lion's flamboyance, the polar bear's ferocity, nor the rarity of the okapi, but its distinctive 2-colored coat is a unique creation. The panda, the emperor of laziness, is all this at the same time, fascinating and so endearing. Thanks to these exceptional images filmed in the primal forests of Sichuan, at an altitude of almost 3,000 meters, we are going to tell you the story of the female panda Mei and her male cub Tuan, of the young mother Bao and her first bear cub Jiu. In the spring of renewal, during the summer of births, in the silent autumn, and throughout the icy winter of these Chinese territories. Once upon a time, in the secluded Konglai Mountains, there was a strange, fantastic, and rare animal, a survivor of the Ice Age, the giant panda. A folk tale recounts that one day a starving leopard bit to death 4 young shepherdesses as they tried to save a panda from its claws. The panda community decided to hold a funeral for the poor victims. At that time, pandas were completely white, with no black markings, but they wore dark armbands to the funeral. As they cried, they rubbed ashes into their eyes to wipe away their tears, wrapped their arms around themselves for comfort, and plugged their ears so they could not hear the crying. The pandas kept these black markings in memory of the 4 maidens and to remind their children of this dramatic story. The 4 shepherdesses became a mountain with 4 twin peaks, a mountain range called the Mountain of the 4 Maidens, located today near the Wolong National Nature Reserve in the Sichuan province of China. These mountains, wrapped in primal forest and clouds, reaching an altitude of almost 10,000 feet, have become the sanctuary for giant pandas, considered living fossils. Giant pandas have been on the planet long before humans appeared. A descendant of the Archaeopteryx, a feathered dinosaur, the panda appeared over 8 million years ago. Living at the same time as the legendary saber-toothed cats, the panda survived the chaos of climate change and deforestation and has adapted to the most extreme conditions in the Sichuan, Shanxi, and Gansu mountain ranges of China. In the past, the panda's habitat extended much further north to Beijing, as far south as the Burmese Bay of Bengal, the Ha Giang Mountains in northern Vietnam, and Ha Long Bay. Today, China is the only country with a wild panda population, which have become a national treasure and the emblem of endangered species. Thanks to proactive policies, the panda population has grown from 1,000 to over 1,800 in more than 60 reserves. At the same time, the world panda population in captivity has reached 600 individuals. The most challenging thing is to increase the small, isolated populations of giant pandas, of which there are around 30. Because these small and fragile populations are gradually declining. The most remote ones, with a population of only about 10 individuals, are disappearing. Only 6 reserves have over 100 individuals, mainly situated in the central Qinling, Minshan, and Konglai mountains. Fortunately, the successful release of pandas bred in captivity, notably in the Tian Tai Shan National Park, is increasing their overall numbers. Tracked by satellite with radio collars, these pandas have integrated perfectly into the wild population. Remote environments and mixed bloodlines have maintained genetic diversity and saved the panda from extinction. The Tian Tai Mountain preserves a 1,000-year-old ecosystem and a fauna from the Ice Age with its large families of Rhinopithecus, or golden snub-nosed monkeys, powerful and massive wild boars, clouded leopards, Tibetan antelopes with ringed horns, and a multitude of endemic birds. There are also more than 10,000 species of plants and animals in this Eden from another era. Protected by the Kinling and Daba mountains that block the cold northern airflows, the panda has adapted to this biotope by changing its diet and carnivorous habits to become a bamboo eater, and its morphology has evolved with its new diet. Surprisingly, its stomach has remained that of a carnivore, requiring it to eat dozens of kilos of bamboo every day. Completely dependent on bamboo, it can eat more than 30 types. The panda's survival is hanging by a single stalk of bamboo. But it has adapted its lifestyle by relying to survive on laziness. Pandas burn just over 1,200 calories a day, half the amount of a human of equivalent weight. They spend less than half their time being active, moving, walking, or rolling around. They prefer gently sloping land to climbing steep slopes, and they avoid direct, energy-consuming social interaction, preferring to use their sense of smell to communicate. Laziness has saved the giant panda. What a strange fate. In spring, life bursts forth everywhere. Azaleas bloom, magnolias awaken. Rhododendrons and orchids compete with their beauty. Bamboos reach high into the sky. Umbrella pines growing next to Chinese sequoias shape this dense and sometimes impenetrable forest. Tao, a solitary, well-built male panda, is searching for bamboo in the forests of Shanxi. He weighs almost 200 kilograms, and his claws, as sharp as a scalpel, are his natural tools for shredding bamboo shoots. His infallible sense of smell leads him to the appetizing shoots. He can travel miles to reach the bamboo groves. Unable to store excess fat for hibernation, like his cousins the black bear or the grizzly bear, he must work all year round to find his grail. His adult size commands respect, and his few natural predators don't dare to challenge him. Tao can therefore indulge in his favorite activity, napping, without fear of being disturbed. Tao must be strong, ready to fight rivals who will try to steal his coveted female. So he must eat and eat, build up his reserves, plump up his body to appear more powerful. He eats every part of the stem, but he has seasonal preferences. He will guzzle nearly 40 kilos of bamboo shoots a day. The stems, covered by husks that he peels away to reach the softer, more appetizing core, are also on the menu. This selection of plants influences seasonal migrations, as does the ambient temperature. The palatability of the bamboo will guide his travels. From its dependence on bamboo, the panda has developed a sixth sense. It memorizes the location of the most prolific forests to return to when the rushes regrow, sometimes 6 months later. The abundance of bamboo and its specific renewal cycle explain, at least partially, why the panda has turned to this plant as its main source of food. Surprisingly, it eats different parts of the bamboo depending on the different seasons. In January and February, the panda feeds almost exclusively on bashania leaves. In March and April, it adds bashania bamboo culms, or hollow stems, to its diet, and in early April, new shoots. In summer, pandas eat exclusively fargesia shoots, both that year's fresh ones and those from the previous year. Finally, from September to February, they only eat bashania leaves, sometimes with old fargesia culms. Who else in the animal kingdom knows bamboo better than Mr. Panda? Would Tao be able to predict his movements according to the growth cycle of bamboo? Other rare and endangered species also benefit from this dependence on bamboo groves. Golden pheasants, takins, Rhinopithecus monkeys, and Japanese crested ibis have found refuge in these thick forests. Tao reigns in these stubble forests, but, like a king without a crown, he is fragile. A reluctant symbol, the giant panda is cataloged as an umbrella species. Because by protecting its vast territory, it preserves a large number of other species that make up this biodiversity. Spring signifies the rebirth of nature that has been dormant for many months. Water, imprisoned by the winter ice, is released and fills up the marshes. As an honorable representative of the ursidae family, the panda loves water. Slumped over, exhausted after his long walk, he falls asleep. Only the noise of wild boars in a hurry could interrupt his necessary nap. The only reason Tao breaks his solitude is to go in search of a female. Of course, Tao is not the only male in this territory attracted to the opposite sex. The panda uses scent marking as his main means of communication. As his round face lacks expression, his short tail is hidden in a mass of hair. He doesn't have a lion's crown to show off, and even though his ears can move up and down, they are not flexible enough to express emotions like a horse. So males and females leave scent trails when they want to meet during the mating season. Tao recognizes the tracks of a fellow panda: a scratched trunk, hairs stuck to the bark, a foreign smell, are all the signs of an unfriendly presence. As solitary creatures, this is how they stay in contact with others. these signs revealing the physical characteristics of fellow pandas like identity papers. There is a clear hierarchy among them with one dominant male, but it can be challenged by the younger ones at any time. Outside the mating season, Tao would have left the area at the first whiff of an unfamiliar panda. Tao lets out a long grunt. This is his way of deterring potential rivals. It is also a message of affection for females. Lynn, a mature female, is in heat. She spreads her scent around to let the males know that she is ready to receive semen from one of them. Tao has sensed her presence and is approaching. But Lynn has taken refuge 20 meters above ground. From up there, she dominates the situation and will only come down to mate with the chosen male. Tao waits under the pretender's tree. But patience has its limits, and Tao decides to shorten preliminaries by joining Lynn. It is a dangerous maneuver, as Tao's corpulence prevents him from climbing higher up the conifer, and he prefers to give up. The hours pass, and Lynn shows no desire to join Tao. Then suddenly, she lets herself slide down the coniferous tree all the way to the ground, where Tao is waiting. He thinks his patience has been rewarded. But Lynn doesn't see it that way, and clearly shows it. The fight is fierce, bitter, violent. His back wounded, Tao abdicates. Kin, another vigorous male, ventures into the area where Lynn has taken refuge. But he comes up against Tao, who has returned to the scene to try his luck once again with Lynn, despite a first bloody refusal. the fight is short-lived. Kin, stronger, mercilessly chases Tao away, hoping he will get his chance to mate with Lin. But Lin isn't ready, so the male passes time. He satiates a pang of hunger by nibbling on some bamboo stems. He goes back under the intended's pine tree and waits. And waits. Then, finally, Lin makes up her mind. She is ready to receive Kin. The mating is brief, too brief most of the time. It must be said that these ursids have the reputation of being clumsy during mating. They are often too brief for the female to be impregnated. And as the female can only conceive a few days a year, the duration and frequency of mating are the keys to conception. A little further down the valley, the Rhinopithecus roxelana gather during the breeding season. Once threatened by extinction, they have indirectly benefited from campaigns to protect the panda, whose habitat has been partially preserved. But these snub-nosed monkeys have a whole different slant on reproduction. They make a lot of noise, screeching, fighting chaotically, bulging their muscles, twirling around, standing their ground, seducing several females to form their harem. This is the only way for the males to gain respect and hope to reproduce. But in this large family of red, long-tailed monkeys, it is also the female who takes the initiative in the mating process. She establishes contact with the male by glancing at him, then runs away, then challenges him again, before finally presenting him her genitals. If the male shows interest, which doesn't always happen because there are many temptations in this bacchanal, then mating follows. Further down, in the plains and swamps, the Japanese crested ibis, also called toki, prepare to breed. The crested ibis is one of the rarest ibises in the world, and is an even older species than the giant panda, originating from the Eocene epoch, 60 million years ago. It is an endangered species and was long thought to be extinct. It was once widespread all across Asia and the vast expanse of Siberia, but its magnificent crest, whose feathers were very much sought after for adorning hats, was one of the causes of its disappearance. After 40 years of effort, the number of ibises has today risen from 7 to 5,000. China is its last refuge. The ibis is monogamous, and in spring, many single males pursue females, singing and dancing for them. In Sichuan, near Tiantai Mountain, Mei, a female panda, is slowing down her daily routine. Pregnant, she must now eat for two. She will have to wait 5 to 8 months before giving birth to her single cub. Only 5 months, whereas most mammals have a much longer gestation period. This important variation exists as the embryo floats around freely in her uterus, each embryo attaching to the uterine wall at different times, then continues to develop. In fact, part of the panda's physical development occurs after birth. Cubs are born before they are fully formed. The humid heat rises from the tropical valleys of southern China. Days are getting longer, making it easier to move from hill to hill. Fruit and berries are in abundance. Although bamboo is now the panda's only source of food through the processes of natural dietary selection, its ancestors were in fact carnivores. It has retained an organism and body mass capable of eating meat. The panda has lost the ability to taste meat, becoming an impassive bamboo-eating machine. However, it is difficult to say whether the panda started eating bamboo because it could no longer eat meat, or whether it lost the taste for meat after starting to eat bamboo. But it is certain that the timely change in its diet is one of the main reasons why the panda survived. Once impregnation is complete, embryonic development stops and allows the future mother to build up her fat reserves. It then recommences for a true gestation period of 4 to 6 weeks. The duration varies from one female to another. Survivors of prehistoric times and an extinct fauna, tackins, also called cattle chamois or new goats, weighing more than 300 kilos, haunt the nights of the approaching summer. At dawn, the males, bursting with testosterone, challenge each other with their ridged horns, sometimes to the death. The loser withdraws from the herd, and the winner can mate. It's a stormy night. The female panda curls up into a fetus position. She lays still, grunting, appearing to be going through labor pains. Tian was born in the middle of summer, under the glow of a full moon. He is the smallest baby of all mammals except for marsupials. He weighs about 3.5 ounces and is no bigger than a pear. The reproductive behavior of the giant panda is unique in the animal kingdom and deeply rooted in the bear family. In fact, all bear cubs are born underdeveloped, but the panda is unique considering the difference in size of the baby and the adult. As soon as her baby cub is born, the mother panda warms her newborn with her own body temperature. The baby's body temperature must remain between 34 and 35.5 degrees Celsius. The mother doesn't leave her den. She doesn't eat or drink and devotes herself exclusively to her baby's survival. One can only marvel at the miracle of life as one observes this mother panda caring for such a weak, delicate creature. The newborn giant panda is probably the most helpless of all baby animals and will not leave its den until 2 months after its birth. Because they are so fragile, many of them do not live longer than a few weeks in the wild. Tian cannot relieve himself alone, so May regularly licks his anus to help him defecate or urinate. She gently bites him, tickles him, stimulates him to keep him alive. May needs to eat 10 to 16 hours a day to feed her baby properly. She eats more than 20 kilos of bamboo and forages an area of around 50 hectares. As summer comes to an end, most of the animals living in the pandas' territory, including the Rhinopithecus monkey, the golden pheasant, the snow leopard, and the red panda, are busy with births. The red panda is only a panda in name because it is not actually related to our giant panda. The giant panda is closely related to the bear family, in particular polar bears, while the red panda is related to the large mustelid family. This was a scientific classification mistake. In 2011, the Chinese Academy of Sciences demonstrated once and for all that the red panda actually belongs to the raccoon family group. The red panda is very different from our giant panda. It is a reddish-brown, with a long, shaggy tail and walks with a waddle because of its short front legs. While the big panda reaches 3 feet tall, the little ginger bear is the size of a cat. It is a solitary creature and only comes together in groups when it is time to breed, and its reproduction is still a mystery. Further away, in this vast panda sanctuary, another family has been formed. Bao, a 6-year-old female, is learning her role as a mother day by day with her cub, Jiu. Bao starts to play with her little female cub. Gestures act as exercises to stimulate her mobility and balance. When she is 1 month old, Jiu has adorned her 2-colored waistcoat. 45 days later, Jiu opens her eyes. As a young mother, Bao is sometimes clumsy in educating her cub, but she has adapted to her main task, feeding her baby at regular intervals, essential for her growth. At 3 months old, Zhu starts crawling and takes a few hesitant steps in her mother's feces, which are nutritious and essential to the baby's immune system. As the feces have a high protein and raw fiber content, they help her intestinal transit and develop natural defenses, essential for her survival. This is also where the mother panda keeps her baby, protecting it from predators, an area that she hardly ever leaves, which explains the abundance of fecal matter. The baby panda isn't really interested in bamboo before it reaches 6 months old, as before then, its main food is its mother's milk. In the Rhinopithecus roxolana family, the babies start showing their little blue snub noses. Like their parents, they will soon be covered in soft, long, orange-red fur. Most mothers keep an eye on their baby's movements, as at this time of year, they are easily caught by hawks. The ibis couple takes turns hunting for food to help their young grow quickly. The takins head for the high mountains to escape the heat. The strongest males lead the way, with the females in the rear and the young in the middle. The loser of the male fights leaves the herd, becoming a loner, while the winner gets to mate with the whole herd and perpetuate its genetic heritage. The autumn wind blows intensely. The first cold weather sweeps through the valley, rapidly replacing the recent mildness. These autumn months prepare our little pandas for the harsh, freezing winter. They are impatient to discover their surrounding world, but they must tame it to survive. Their mothers are there to show them how. Panda mothers are exemplary, among the most attentive, tender, and devoted in the animal world. The bond of dependence between the cub and the mother is one of the strongest.